Welcome to a Football Friday on the National Football Show with your boy, Big Sills. What a way to get this bad puppy up and running last night with Cowboys and Buccaneers, live from Raymond James. I was just talking to my boy Krause, too, and you know what, man? He lit the candle right there for me, and I had an epiphany because he's so dead on. After listening to that gloomy-ass speech by Mr. Downer, the President of the United States, I tune on and turn on Thursday Night Football, and there's 75,000 fans, no mask, sitting next to one another. They're enjoying a football game, just like I saw with the college crowd the week before. Blacksburg was sensational. Camp Randall was packed. All the great stadiums. The American football fan is bringing us out of this pandemic. Whatever those idiots in Washington are saying, it's not translating. And by the way, know this, what you saw in the stands last night. And I want to show you this too. That thing got a 15.9 share last night. That's like national championship numbers in college football. A 15.9 share when it came to television ratings last night. That is an iconic number to start your season off. I think it's just things to come for the 2021 season. 59 TV rating is incredible. Incredible. And get this, nobody had a mask on in the stadium. And I promise you this, they were not all Trump Republicans sitting at Raymond James. Those were Democrats and Republicans sitting in that stadium, watching that game last night and enjoying the art of football. And by the way, I was so grateful to see one national anthem because we're all one. Black, white, Italian, Irish, Asian, doesn't matter what your makeup is, man. We're Americans. And last night, that was Americana, baby, at its best. I was so jacked up last night. Seeing all the fans and everybody enjoying themselves. And it was a great football game. NFL needed that. I think our country needed that. It was great. Dak versus Brady. Are the Cowboys better? Can the Bucs repeat? Is Brady going to take it to another level and win another championship, number 8? It was just so iconic last night. Okay? So iconic. You'll wear your mask or pay the Biden fine. Yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever. I'm not in that camp. I'll never be in that camp. Ever. I'm going to be in the camp of Republicans and Democrats that I saw at Raymond James. Thank you, football fan. Thank you. Thank you for what you did. That was so great. By the way, hour 2, Big Sills picks. I hit on 71% of my picks against the spread. Pretty much every year. I did it last year as well. We'll do that in the second hour. We're hopefully going to try to run down our friend Tony Bruno. Tony's not feeling as well. So, anytime we get some stone cold lead pipe locks from the master himself, there I said it, we always try to get TB on. We will have our NFL Insider Hall of Fame voter, Howard Balzer from Sports Illustrated, at the bottom of the hour. But we're going to start it off with that really great football game. Brady comes back. Did you really think under 2 minutes that Brady wasn't going to win that football game? He only needed a field goal. Are you crazy? 31-29. I said 38-10. I thought it was going to be a blowout, but there were some significant things in that game last night that really stuck out. Some would say this. Let's start with the Cowboys first. People were impressed with Dak Prescott's play last night. Over 400 yards passing, just a tick above it. I thought Dak looked really impressive. I really did. I thought he looked very impressive. Trevor, thanks for coming aboard. Incognito, all good. Whatever your political policies are and however you look at things, all good. Nobody's wrong when you're talking politics. Everyone's got their own identity. See, the difference between me and you, though, I don't tell you what to do with your life. Don't tell me. Smile. Thanks for coming aboard, brother. Okay? That's the difference here. See? I don't give a crap about living your life for you. Don't give a crap about living my life for me. Okay? That's all I ask of you. You don't know me well enough to tell me what to do. And I you. So that game last night, I was really impressed with Dak, and I was actually impressed with the Cowboys. I thought they got better. But you know what? Krause said this to me the other day when I was trying to dissect my hurricane ass beating at the hands of Alabama. So have we really reduced ourselves, if you're a Cowboy fan, to doing this? Well, they really played good. Did they lose? Yes. Okay, so what? Moral victory stuff? Moral victory stuff? Come on, man. Moral victory? Dallas creating turnover. Smile. That was pretty good stuff last night. I think that had a lot to do with Dan Quinn. And I really think that they played hard last night. I thought they set the edge pretty good. And I really thought that they stopped the Buccaneers running attack. I thought they were better against the run. And I thought both teams actually surrendered the running attack. And I thought the Cowboys needed to do more. But think about this. And here's the difference in both teams. Are you ready? The Buccaneers are doing this. Man, we didn't really play well. We had a lot of turnovers, a lot of pre-snap penalties. We just didn't play well. And you know what the Cowboy mentality is today? Man, we really gave a great effort, and we gave the defending champions everything they can handle, but lost. The difference is moral victory versus a team that's the champion that thought they didn't play well. Thank you very much, Kathy. Love your show, Big Sills. Watch on the TV today. Thank you so much, man, Jim. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you coming aboard like that. And the Cowboys are now in the position that I was trying to go with my boy Krause and saying this. Well, you know, they played well. Yeah, but they lost. I get it. So the Cowboys are now in the business of playing for moral victories. That's got to change. Hey, and I'll say this. You know what else came to, at least me thinking what's going to happen in 2022? Kellen Moore is going to be the new head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year. I thought he called an exceptional game plan. I thought he gave that football team every opportunity. I would love to have seen him stick with the running attack a little more. But I think Kellen Moore is going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He's the coach in waiting right now. The former Boise State quarterback, that was one of the guys that was retained by Jerry and Steven when they hired Mike McCarthy. Remember, Mike McCarthy's a play caller. I thought Kellen did an exceptional job last night. Muhammad, Cowboy fans think they're going to the Super Bowl after last night's loss. That is so typical Dallas Cowboy fan. That is so – the difference between Cowboy fans and Eagle fans, you know what they are? The Eagles are going to rip you. And you know what? Let me say this to you. You know what Eagle fans would do? Say that Buccaneer team was in Philadelphia and they were wearing Eagle hats. You'd have half the fan base going, hey, man, we can't play like that, only giving and getting 10 points in the second half and thinking that we're going to be in a conversation to win a Super Bowl. We're just not going to. Last year, the Buccaneers led the NFL in second half points and yardage. Last night, now again, it's such a small rail test. I mean, I don't have enough. You need 3 games really for trends. Okay? So I'm not going to really go. I thought the Buccaneers played tight. I'll get to the Bucs here in a second. But the Cowboys, Dak was really good. And he even looks better. Maybe because, the contract, it settles him. He knows what his number is against. He's not going anywhere. He played with a lot of confidence last night. How about that checkoff play by Tom Brady? Let me get to the Bucs now. How about that checkoff play inside the red zone to Gronk? How about that play? How about that play? He gets Gronk a play, then he checks him out into a blocking play, then he checks him out into block release, and he catches a touchdown pass. I'm going to say this to you. Without a doubt, Rob Gronkowski's the greatest tight end that's ever lived. He's got Chris Carter hands, and he blocks like Mark Bavaro. I tweeted that at Dan Sileo show. Incognito, we won't win a Super Bowl playing like that. Seattle 2017. The Buccaneers, way too many pre-snap penalties. They played tight. There were a lot of things in that game where you were like, okay, the turnovers too were not very good, and they've got to cut that down, which they will. Let's see after 3 games. That's when you, like, watch this. If the Eagles get beat this weekend by Atlanta, wait till the 3rd game before you could start putting trends together on what's wrong with the team. You know, saying that the Cowboys are back or better than they were a year ago, yet to be determined. 4 quarters of football is exactly what it is. It's one game. That's it. You start to get trends and you start to get what teams can and can't do after about 3 games. And here's why, Trevor, it's 3 games. I'm going by what I used to get when it came to my game plan. If we were taking on a particular football team and we got a game plan, say I was with the Buccaneers and I was going to go play the Bears, they would take the last 3 games and our game from a year ago, so it is kind of 4 games in a way. And what they would do is they would put a game plan together. This is what they do on 3rd and 10. This is what they do on 2nd and 3. This is what they do in the red zone. This is what they do on the -50. You know what I'm saying? So you get trends after 3 games of what we did in the last game. Because most of the time, the personnel really doesn't traditionally change all that much. So I thought the Buccaneers did not play all that hot, but they did what they had to do, and that's win a game. Remember, this isn't BCS points here. Muhammad, Big Sills, Dak threw 60 times. Never going to win like that. You can't keep that pace up and win. You can't smile. Cowboys and Seminoles kicker both. Incognito, best TV moment. Brady shaking head and saying no to OC. Oh, God, was Incognito. Boom. He's right. That was an absolutely GOAT. Best TV moment. Brady shaking head and saying no to the OC, Byron Leftwich, before Goodwin catched with 20 seconds left. Then the camera pans to OC and he's pissed. The GOAT. Well, who are you going to trust? Byron Leftwich or Tom Brady calling plays? I don't know. Remember something. Don't get pissed. Just get the result. And Brady saw it. Incognito, that checkout with Gronk was sensational. See, the average fan doesn't see that. He doesn't see that. See, Brady gets him to the line of scrimmage. He sees the free safety. He sees him cheating up because at the last second, with about 5 seconds before the play clock ticks off, he's going to blitz or they're going to put some type of scheme and stunt in the middle. Brady sees that. Tells Gronk block for pass rushers because they're blitzing. Brady sees where the blitz is coming from. He checks Gronk out of that into a block release up the seam. How many touchdown passes have you seen Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski do that? It helps that those guys have been in games with one another. 31-29. Is there anybody on here right now that was saying this? Well, I don't think the Bucs are going to win. I'm sitting here with my wife, and I'm going like this. There is no way that the Buccaneers are not going to win this game with that guy quarterbacking and needing only 3 points. How many Super Bowls did that guy win with 3 points? So I come away with this. Everybody's so positive today about the Cowboys. You're 0-1. Now you got the Chargers, right? You think you're going to beat the Chargers? We'll see. Nick Bosa can rush the passer, dog. Let's see. if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure if that game. I'll take a look at that. I got that on my list here too. I surely do have that on my list here. That's next week. That's Chargers. That's right, because they just played last night, obviously. Muhammad, my wife was telling me Cowboys are going to win. No way. Hey. My wife looked over at me and went like this. She just said, game's over. There was like 2 minutes left in the game. She said, game's over. Game's over. Said the same thing in the NFC Championship game against Aaron Rodgers. Game's over. So I came away with this. Are the Cowboys better? How about this? People like Bayless and everyone are now saying Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. Really? The Buccaneers played horribly in that game. They made plays when they had to. How many times do you ever see a team win a game when you got 4 turnovers? How many times have you seen where a team throws for 400 yards? They had 475 yards or something like that, 450 in the game and lost? Okay. Right. You had over 450 yards in that game. You lost, and the Bucs surrendered 4 turnovers. And you couldn't beat that team? I don't know what that says, man. I mean that common sense would tell you. Muhammad, people are just chewing out there going, you see, here's the thing, though. Remember this. Muhammad, here's the one thing, and this is why Philadelphia fans hate the Cowboys so much. This is why you guys hate these guys. Because you know why? The Eagles can go out and play a good game on the road against the Falcons and win by 2 points, and they'll say they got by the skin of their teeth. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys, they played their best game they possibly could play against a very good team and the champs and still lose and go like this. Cowboys are better. Jim says, minute 30 left, field goal range. TB has 1. T.O. McCarthy didn't run the clock. Dude, great call. Because they surrendered against the running attack, Jim. That guy, even if you're not being effective enough in the game, you still got to keep people honest. At the end of that game, the Buccaneers were putting their ears back and they were rushing the passer. They had no respect for the run attack because it wasn't that Zeke wasn't effective. It's that they got away from that. And they felt the only way to win that football game. Now, the Buccaneers were number 1 in rushing defense last year. So that may have played a little bit into it. And without having Zach Martin in there. So maybe that kind of all added up. And the Buccaneers, maybe what their game plan was, maybe as they sat around with coaches, they had to say this. We're not going to get into a slugfest with this team and win. We're going to have to get it into a track meet. And they did. They made it a track meet, and they kept themselves in that football game doing that. If you get 4 turnovers and over 400 yards and lose, you should be embarrassed. Incognito, I would say this. I don't know so much embarrassed, but I would say this. Don't be tooting your horn that you're back or you're going to win the NFC East. Like I said, let's see what happens over the next couple games here. So, as I said, I come away from that game going, I don't know. Okay, moral victories? I'm not there with that. I thought, like I've been saying here, the Buccaneers play tight. I really did. And Muhammad's right. The expectations in Dallas. Did Dallas look better than last year's team? Yeah, but last year's team was not a very good football team. Even with Dak on it, they were still 1-4 when he got hurt in that Giants game. And if it wasn't for a miraculous comeback against Atlanta, they may have been 0-5 going into that Giants game. I see what people think about Cowboy fans all the time. I don't know how you come out of that game going like this. Well, Sills, 0-4? Okay, 0-4. I don't know how you come out of that game going like this. Well, man, we're way better. You didn't use Elliott enough. And just because the Bucs were number one against the run a year ago, so what? Run that gosh dang thing, man. Here's incognito. Only happened 3 other times in history. And the other 3 teams stank. Read between the lines. You're right. Dak played great, Muhammad says. Don't get me wrong, but stats don't measure and don't matter in a loss. They don't, man. Trevor says the New York, Connecticut Cowboy fans are pissed about their Yankees and Mets. Okay, maybe that's why. Okay. Man, I'll tell you this, though. It was really a great football game. And I was really glad to see that the NFL was able to put that game on. And, you know, in light of that guy's speech earlier that put the country in a downspin, 15.9 share last night. Saw fans in the stands again cheering the National Football League. Man, I don't know about you, but that was awesome, man. Dude, that was. And as I said to you, folks, I'm not shilling for any side of the aisle here because those 75,000 fans, I broadcast for 15 years in Tampa. I know what that crowd is made of. They're made of Republicans and Democrats. The I-4 corridor in the state of Florida pretty much dictates the outcome of an election, especially in a presidential election. And it was probably pretty even and split right down the middle in that stadium last night. So it was just Americans watching the game last night. They weren't watching that speech because I didn't see one mask. Not one mask in that building last night. Oh, my God. Muhammad, it made me so excited, man. Okay? Hey, incognito. I just leave you with these 2 words. He's talking about his Phillies. Ready? Bryce Harper. I mean, really? So you sign a guy to a $34 million contract per year annually? What's he doing? I mean, what is he delivering? This guy's like A-Rod with the Rangers. Remember when A-Rod was with the Angels or the Texas Rangers? He won the MVP award on a last-place team. I'm not saying the Phillies are a last-place team, but I'm saying, dude, really? I mean, when I watch a guy like Manny Machado play, Machado probably hits you 28, 35 home runs, plays a Gold Glove third bag, though. Okay? Plays a Gold Glove third bag. And how many runs has that guy saved just in the field? Robinson, I said this before, Brooks Robinson, man, who's the greatest third baseman as a glove guy in the history of baseball, said Machado's the greatest Baltimore Oriole third baseman he's ever seen. And that said a lot coming from that dude who won all those Gold Gloves. Machado's spectacular. I look at Harper and go, I don't know. Anyway, so we'll get into the Atlanta Falcons versus the Eagles here in a second. We're going to catch up with our friend Howard Balzer too. Anything you guys want to hit, I appreciate everybody coming aboard with us. You keep it right here on a Football Friday. We got Big Sills picks in the next hour. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
Hey, Eagles fans, if you're a subscriber to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, you are already registered to win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming season. That's right, you could win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming 2021 season just for being a subscriber. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber, do it now. Subscribe to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel right now. What do you need to do? Subscribe right now.
As a hard-working American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm. Find out why they say We got this.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome back, National Football Show on a Football Friday. It's your boy Dan Sileo. I want to throw some love out to my boy Luther Campbell. Luke Skywalker. He talked Adidas into building a brand new stadium in South Florida. And in Liberty City, it's always great when you see companies stepping up to the table. And Adidas put a great field down in South Florida for Edison. And I want to give everyone some love there at Edison High School. And Luther's the head football coach there. He's been a friend of mine for going on 36 years, 37 years. He was so instrumental in my growth as a man down at Miami that I got to tell you a quick story here before we get our friend Howard Balzer on here. So I get down to Miami, right? I didn't go to high school with very many African-American kids. I did. I think we had one. Okay. And I get down there, and Jerome goes like this to me: "Get your jersey. Let's go." I go, "Where am I going?" He goes, "We're going to the hood. We're going to Overtown, Liberty City." What? What are these places? Man, I'll tell you what. You want to see poverty? You want to see kids that are starving to get out and use football as a vehicle? I went down there. I never in my life ever ate soul food. So there were like chitlins and gizzards and all kinds of stuff, greens and stuff. Man, I eat Italian food. I didn't eat any of this crap, right? All of a sudden, they give me these boxes of Chinese boxes filled with all these like different styles of food, the soul food. And so I start eating. I'm like, "Man, what's this?" He goes, "Hoss, those are chitlins." You know what chitlins are? Chitlins are stuffed like gizzards, intestines. I'm like, my boy Krause eats like goat's balls and stuff. So, I mean, hey, it's all good, right? And so I start eating these things, and I go, well, they're a little bit gassy and a little bit oily here, but it's all good. And we just went around to all the high schools talking to the kids there, saying that if it can happen to us, it can happen to you. And it was so important. It was one of the greatest things. And Luther Campbell, who was rapping big time back in the day, pressing his own vinyl. And it's funny, man. I used to do security for Luther Campbell and Two Live Crew. And then get this, NWA would be like in a concert with them. And, you know, there I am this Italian kid sitting on, and I would tell my grandparents, what are you doing for like work and stuff? And I go, well, I'm running security for Luther Campbell. I was so glad the internet wasn't around then because he was getting arrested all the time. And there'd be a NWA, and that's why I'm friends with, we've had on Ice Cube. He's been on twice now, I think. And I became friends with Cube all the way back to when I was a kid, and he used to show up in South Florida. And it was all because of Luther Campbell. And yeah, and so Luke's now a head coach at Edison High School. And if you see us, we communicate with each other all the time on Twitter, and we go back and forth. And he's such an important guy in my life. I really love Luther Campbell. And, you know, what really just pissed me off, if you look at it, because I just tweeted it, he's got a kid on his football program that just went to Clemson. They go to Clemson, they go to Alabama, and it aggravates me. How is that kid getting out of South Florida and not going to the University of Miami? Man, this is what kills us. You got a 5-star kid at Edison High School where Luther Campbell's the head coach, and that kid doesn't go to Miami? It's just ridiculous, man. Really is. I hate that. Okay? Oh, Xander's going to get it, man. Xander's like, just because Miami blows. Oh, I see. I don't want to come off like Cowboy fan here. All right? I don't want to come. Wait a minute. Hey, Xander. Couple national championship rings over there for you, kid. See him right there? Right there in the middle, son. That's when we were blowing people out like Alabama. Bama was roadkill then. It was just roadkill. They wouldn't schedule a team like that against us. We might frighten a few folks. We might frighten a few people. Yeah. Might frighten a few people. Oh, man. And Xander's like this now. Okay, yeah, he's like roadkill. Okay. Let's change gears and let's head to my friend Howard Balzer from Sports Illustrated. And, you know, I always start out my program with Howard, with Rick Gosselin, and with Jason Cole, because these dudes here are my caretakers of the NFL. They're the guys that determine who gets the gold jackets and not. And so there was a list that came out the other day of the top 100 players by The Athletic. And Howard, they said Brady's the number one guy of all time. Here's my top 5 and tell me if you agree. I've got Jim Brown, 5. I've got Reggie White, 4. I've got Jerry Rice, 3. Brady, 2. And Lawrence Taylor, 1. What do you think of my list?
That's a pretty good list. It's a very good list. The only thing I'll say about Brady is it's kind of a very interesting subject, because I believe that winning should be separated from individual evaluations. And there's no question that Tom Brady is the greatest winning quarterback of all time, and on as many times as they've won. But does that make him the greatest player? I just wonder about that. I remember, Dan, I was asked this question once when I said, I don't know that Brady is. And so someone asked me, well, who would you pick as the greatest quarterback? And I said, I looked at it this way. I said, if you were starting a team and you wanted to pick a quarterback who could just play the position at such a tremendously high level, I might pick Dan Marino, or I might pick John Elway. And I'm not saying I wouldn't pick Tom Brady because he would be in the discussion, but you know, how many championships would Dan Marino have won if he was on better teams than the Dolphins were a lot of those years when he was playing? So, but those other guys, I mean, we can debate, and that's what makes it all fun. I mean, some would put Walter Payton in that top 5, and you know, how do you separate guys at positions? It's very difficult. It's very hard. It's great to talk about, but here's what I always go back to. I'll never forget this quote, one of the great quotes I thought of all time. It was when Earl Campbell was playing for the Houston Oilers, and someone asked Bum Phillips, then the head coach of the Oilers, is Earl Campbell the greatest running back you've ever seen? And he was on Bum's team. And Bum said in that distinctive Texas drawl, he said, "Well, I don't know if he's the best, but he's among them." And I thought that was really the best way to say it. But everyone wants to put lists together. Everyone wants to do these things. You have the NFL Top 100 every year, which is kind of a farce. You've got this and you've got that. And what is it all about? It's all about getting people to look at it and then debate it on shows like this.
Absolutely.
And that's why they're done. And sometimes I think, quite honestly, it gets a little bit old.
Absolutely. Here, let's move on to last night's game. That wasn't old. This is brand new. Got a 15.9 share last night, too. One of the highest rated opening games in the National Football League over the last 20 years. Were you more impressed with the Cowboys, or were you more impressed that the Buccaneers found a way to win, not playing their best game?
Yeah, and it's a great way to put it. I'm impressed by both, certainly. But yeah, I was maybe a little more impressed by the Cowboys to go on the road in a hostile environment. Fans are out to cheer their defending champions and going against a pretty darn good defense and basically saying, we're not even going to try to run against this team. We're going to put it in Dak Prescott's hands, who obviously missed all those games last year and hardly practiced this season, where he couldn't throw the football. And I thought that was pretty incredible, what he was able to do. And like I said, they didn't even try to run and had the game right there. Now, granted, would they have even been able to go ahead if Chris Godwin hadn't fumbled the ball in that situation where Tampa Bay would have had likely a 2-score lead? You never know. But they just hung in there and competed play after play in a very tough environment. So I was impressed by the Cowboys last night. Absolutely.
You know, I'll tell you who I was more impressed than Dak Prescott last night with, and I'm going to throw this out there to you, Howard. I was impressed with the game plan that Kellen Moore called. I mean, to me, I think he's the head coach in waiting. He may be even the head football coach next year in 2022 if, say, they don't win the NFC East this year, because he put that player in every position to win. CeeDee Lamb with those 4 drops, you cannot be considered an elite wide receiver when you're killing drives with those drops. You just can't. And I really thought that Dak was put in a really good position. They abandoned the run. I think they only had 11 carries in that game. And like you said, I think it was because they saw the writing on the wall. The Bucs were number 1 against the rush last year. And so they just probably said, look, the only way we're going to get into a game this year is in a shootout with this Buccaneer team. And that's kind of what they did. But I look at Kellen Moore, and he's probably maybe the most impressive guy that was in that organization last night. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it is fair. But it's like anything though. Whatever plays you call or whatever your game plan is, you still have to have the players at a high level to execute that game plan. And I mean, that was a relentless pass rush the Buccaneers were coming with too, and the Cowboys had their share of holding penalties, and there probably could have been some more that were called, but they were able to overcome them. And, they get in a tough situation because of a holding penalty. They come right back and gain the yards back. So that was impressive. And near the end of the game, they were doing it without Michael Gallup, who got banged up. So that team has some offensive talent. There's no question about that. But, I mean, it's fair to say, Prescott picked up right where he left off last season when he got hurt. He was piling up those yards in the games he played. And here he did it again, like I said, on the road, with a lot of crowd noise and all those things, that he just seemed totally not affected by it at all. And so, you have to give him more credit. But, hey, the players were the ones that made it happen, and that was huge.
You know, Howard, I'll tell you, I don't think the average fan, and I know you see this, and I want to get your thoughts on Gronkowski because I'm going here with him. That checkoff that they had in the red zone when he put him down to block the end, he had a release, then he checked him into blocking, which made then the front 4 of the Cowboys shift where he had wear on him. Then he checked him back out of it again on a block and release up the seam. Gronk gets his second touchdown. And I don't know if the average fan knows how incredible that is when you've got 10, 9, 8, 7, and you're in the red zone and you see that and you know a blitz is coming and then you get a block release with your tight end. It's got to be these guys working together. But, I mean,
Absolutely.
That's what makes Brady the greatest right there, along with Manning, that they just are savants with the game.
Well, yeah, no, they are. There's no doubt about that. And doing it for as long as they have, Gronkowski's quote was, well, it wasn't even playing for like 80 years or something.
Yeah, right.
And it almost feels like it. And then even with all that, of making all the calls and making all the adjustments, then the throw was right where it had to be. I mean, it was just perfect. And Gronkowski makes the catch and gets into the end zone. So, but that does come with playing the game for as long as he has, and obviously having that relationship with Gronkowski that they're able to pull it off. I mean, look, Gronkowski didn't have that much of a role during the season last year. It was here and there, but man, in the postseason, he really elevated his game, and certainly that was a big part of why the Buccaneers won the championship.
I would say this to you, Howard. I mean, maybe Kellen Winslow Sr. is the only other guy, and I tweeted this out a couple minutes ago. I said Gronk is a cross between Chris Carter's hands and Mark Bavaro's blocking ability, because he goes man on some of the best defensive ends. He doesn't get chip help from anybody. He's out there blocking like he's an offensive tackle, and he's got Carter hands. I mean, I've never seen a tight end have better hands. I think Winslow Sr. had hands like that too. But, I mean, is he the GOAT at that position, in your opinion? Have you ever seen a better tight end than Rob Gronkowski?
To do both, maybe not. I'll go way back. And, Winslow come out, was basically, and a lot of those guys, when, Ozzie Newsome and some of those guys, they become glorified wide receivers because they just don't block a lot. Newsome probably blocked more than Winslow, but that's been the way this position has evolved. And Tony Gonzalez certainly could block. But Gronkowski was one of the best. But I'll tell you, a guy back in the day, and I'm a little biased because he played where I lived for a long time, Jackie Smith was as good as anybody. And when you watch film of him and how deceptively fast he was and how big and how he blocked and the plays he made in the receiving game were amazing. It took him a long time to get into the Hall of Fame, mainly because of that drop in the Super Bowl when he came back from retirement. I mean, he had retired that year. And then the Cowboys signed him in like October because they had injuries. And all of a sudden now you're going to hold one play against a guy who had just a phenomenal career. But you look back on that, and I'm sure there's some other guys in the past. Heck, Mike Ditka was a tremendous two-way tight end when you had to do both in the day. But there's no question, though, you make a good – Gronkowski's a throwback. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He does it all, and that's probably why he's got injured so much too. And unfortunately, that's kept his numbers down somewhat, but a tremendous player, obviously.
Don't you agree that with performances like that, I'm a big proponent of trying to get Mark Bavaro into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because it was a different style of playing that position back then. And you couldn't name me really any significant wide receivers that were on those Giant teams back in the day. And he was asked to do different things. He was a third down receiver for them. He was a possession guy for them. And he knocked people on their ass because the Giants were defined by running the ball and playing defense. Probably makes it harder for him to get any kind of consideration for going into the Hall when he doesn't have the numbers like Kelsey and these other guys.
It does. And when you mentioned him earlier, I heard that and I said, I got to say something about Bavaro. And then you came in with the question after I was done, because I agree 100%. I have voted for him in the past to get to the semifinals. He hasn't gotten that far, but I think he was somewhat overlooked because he did everything and they didn't throw to the tight end as much, but they always knew that they could. And if they had to, and that was just the way that style was with that team. And I don't remember the exact quote, but I remember one year at the Super Bowl, someone I think it was someone from New York, in fact, asked Bill Belichick at a Super Bowl press conference about Mark Bavaro, and he just went on and on about how good that guy was, and how a lot of times you didn't realize it. And I mean, he talked about him at times taking on Reggie White and being able to do it in the blocking game, which is just hard to even imagine being the case. So I know Belichick loved him and loved the way he played. Will he ever be seriously considered? I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if his time has run out in modern day eligibility. I think it might have. And once you get to that seniors group, man, it's awfully hard to emerge from that abyss, which we on the committee like to call it, and a lot of people do, because boy, once you get into that, it's so hard to be just the guy who's picked each year to be the seniors nominee.
Couple games here over the weekend I want to get your thoughts on. Are we going to find out a little bit more about the Browns as they take on the Chiefs this weekend?
Yeah, I think we will. And I don't know if one game is going to tell you a lot, but I mean, heck, we found out a lot about the Browns in the playoff game against the Chiefs when they took them right down to the wire, and they had that crazy turnaround when the player tried to reach the ball into the end zone, and it hit the pylon and fumbled it and went out of bounds, and boom, all of a sudden it's a touchback, which of course is one of the craziest, ridiculous rules I've ever seen in football. I don't understand why they don't change that.
I never got that rule.
I never understood that. I mean, what sport?
Why do you get the ball on the 20 going back out? I never got that.
Yeah, I mean, every other quote turnover happens because the defense gains possession of the ball, or maybe it's special teams, obviously on a thing like that. But it's the team defending gets control of the ball, and there you don't. And yet, but just by nature of inches sometimes, or I mean, heck, if that play is made and he reaches and he doesn't reach the pylon and it goes out of bounds at the 1 yard line, well, the ball's put at the 1 yard line. But all of a sudden it goes in the end zone and it's a touchback. I've never understood that. But be that as it may, who knows what happens in that game if they score there. So you don't want to put too much into one game. But this Cleveland Browns team is a heck of a football team. I really believe, Dan, that offensively, defensively, an overall roster, they might be the most talented team in the league. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, that Baker Mayfield is better than Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, or some guys aren't better than others, but put them all together collectively, and that is about as complete a team as I think there is in the league. They showed it last year, winning 11, and I don't see any reason why that can't happen again, and maybe they're even better.
Pittsburgh and the Bills, we're going to learn a little more about Pittsburgh because they got out to that strong start a year ago. They went out and got Najee Harris in the draft. They had struggles on 3rd and short and in the red zone going into the end zone. This Bills team, I don't know if they're as talented as they were 2 years ago defensively, but, I mean, Howard, this is going to tell us a little bit more because this is a pretty good AFC game coming out of the gate here.
It definitely is, and I think it will tell us something about the Steelers especially, and here's the key for them, because they have basically remade their entire offensive line. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, you look at that offensive line, and most of their starters from last year are not back. And so they've got all new guys on that line. And it takes, now, how much will we learn in game one if that line struggles a little bit? Maybe not that much, because it takes time for an offensive line to gel, especially when you're hardly ever in pads these days in the league. How many times do we ask a coach about an offensive line play and they say, well, or even in the offseason say, well, we got to wait to get the pads on, or then I got to wait till I watch the tape. Well, when the pads are hardly on in training camp or in training or in regular season practices, it takes time for those guys to get into that whole offensive line mindset, and especially when you're going against these big, fast, athletic defensive linemen. But that will tell. So this game might give a little bit of a hint on that, but we'll need some more games to really see if the Steelers line is going to come together good enough to keep them in contention in a very difficult division.
Finally here, I want to put one in your neck of the woods here. You know, why I don't know if it was you that kind of talked me out of Cliff Kingsbury a little bit here, but they open up with the Titans, and I'll tell you what, if that defense is not ready to play and they can't stop the run, Derrick Henry's going to go for 250 yards on that defense if they can't. And I'm just trying to figure out, because Steve Keim came out, the general manager, and I think he basically, and a lot of people, and I'm sure you hit on it, but I'm sure a lot of people missed it, he said this is a playoff team.
Right.
And I heard him say that this week. That's code for this. Hey, Cliff, this team better make it to the postseason or there will be a coaching change. Am I right?
It's interesting you say that, because I just wrote a story on the website that I publish here, allcardinals.com, where I said it's very dangerous when there's blanket statements like that being made. You have to be in the playoffs to keep your job. Now, he hasn't really said that, but that's the way a lot of people think. And
no, I took it that way.
there's people locally that are saying that. Well, if the Cardinals were in the NFC East, they'd probably be co-favorites with the Cowboys. If they were in the NFC North or the NFC South, they would be at worst picked to finish third and probably finish second by a lot of people. But they're in the toughest division in football where teams eat each other alive. And so that makes it difficult. So if you're a better team and you're improved, and maybe you win 9 games, maybe you win 10, but you don't get into the postseason, do you then fire the coach and start over again? I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is their 3rd coach in 4 seasons. Well, now this will be the 5th season.
Yep.
And so that's where it gets down. I think there has to be a little nuance in that discussion where it's just not black and white. Now, if they show a lot of the same issues they had last year with penalties that killed offensive drives and some game management questions at time, and they win, heck, if they win 5 or 6 games, there's no question about it. But if you're better and you're playing better and you're going into a year 4 for Kyler Murray where you have to make a decision on his 5th-year option and maybe on a new contract, you want to do all that with a new head coach and new offensive staff? I just think that would be self-defeating, and I think sometimes teams make a mistake that way. And I'll give you one quick example, and I wrote about this. In 2017, the Detroit Lions, or is it 16? So it's 18? Yeah. In 2017, the Lions were 9-7, and they fired Jim Caldwell. In 2 of the previous 4 seasons, they were in the playoffs with Jim Caldwell as the head coach and Matthew Stafford as the quarterback, obviously. They fired Jim Caldwell, and since then, Dan, the last 3 years, they're 14-33-1 and fired the coach again. And this year, the general manager. And by the way, that's what they're saying in Arizona, too, that if the Cardinals don't achieve, that Kime should be out the door also. But the point being is, be careful what you wish for sometimes. And now the Lions are starting over as basically a quarterback because Matthew Stafford didn't want a part of it anymore, where you're changing coaches all the time. You start getting into that whole roller coaster, and it's very hard to get out of it. Continuity is very important. So I think it's about progress. It's about improvement. And I think that should be the key on any decision on coaches, GMs that might be made when the season's over.
So we're not going to see like a Spanos family firing him 14-2 Marty Schottenheimer.
And probably not. And of course that was but it's interesting you bring that specific situation up because I said another one today to someone we were talking about this. And of course that was AJ Smith.
There was AJ Smith and him going back and forth.
It was just a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Well, if you go back to Pittsburgh, and I don't remember the exact year, but the Steelers had taken a step back a little bit. I think they might have been 8-8. That's a step back for the Steelers. And there was all these debates about Bill Cowher losing his job. And there was some controversy there between him and Tom Donahoe, the Steelers general manager. Well, Dan Rooney, I think, realizes and understands how hard it is to find a guy that you believe in as a head coach. And so he kept Cowher and fired Donahoe. And the Steelers ended up going back to another Super Bowl, and I think then winning it under Bill Cowher. So again, that's the danger here. I've often said this, Dan. It's one of my favorite little phrases. It's easy to fire the head coach. And when I say easy, I mean you call him in the office, oh, it's time to make a change. We're moving in another direction. It's a lot harder to find a guy that's just as good a head coach, much less better, which should be what you're trying to do is hire a coach that's better. And you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting. I mean, heck, look at the Raiders. Look at the contract they've given John Gruden. Are they that much better now than they were under Jack Del Rio?
No,
I'd argue it's not. So,
absolutely. It's going to be a great weekend. Howard, thank you so much as always. I love talking football and Hall of Fame stuff with you, man. Thank you so much, my friend. Have a great football weekend.
You too, Dan. Take care. Always enjoy coming on with you.
You got it. That is my friend Howard Balzer. We're going to take a quick time out and then get this. We're going to get right into Big Sills picks. We were 71% against the spread. We're going to start it with Eagles and Falcons. You keep it right here on the National Football Show.
Hey, Eagles fans, if you're a subscriber to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, you are already registered to win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming season. That's right, you could win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming 2021 season just for being a subscriber. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber, do it now. Subscribe to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel right now. What do you need to do? Subscribe right now.
As a hardworking American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm. Find out why they say, "We got this."
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at IBEW98.org.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
but as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Big Sills, welcome back. National Football Show on a Football Friday. We're going to get to our Big Sills picks. You want to make some money? How you doing? You know, Smile, you give me a little bit more content. I think next week we're going to have to add some college football big games when it comes to maybe teams against the spread. OSU to cover is a lock. Stone cold lead pipe lock. Tony Bruno. By the way, we'll do all that at the top of the hour. All right, guys. Robert says we have Superman. Tell me what you're referring to, Robert. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming aboard, though, by the way. Guys, I hate bringing race into conversations. But I've got to get this off my chest here. So, you know, I'm going back and forth now with Luther Campbell on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. And Luther just congratulated a Miami Edison player. He's a 4.0 student. His name is Nate Joseph. And his nickname is Ray Ray. And he's just committed to going to Clemson. And I asked Luther, why didn't you send him to Miami? You know, what I just said to you. And Luther's comment was this. I can never imagine in a million years back in the Jerome Brown days that I would be a high school coach in Miami, not get a call and not have Miami call me and recruit my players. Here is, without a doubt, the issue that the University of Miami has right now. Miami doesn't like recruiting inner city black kids for whatever reason anymore. When I played at the University of Miami, Tad Foote, the president of the school, didn't like the inner city look. Okay? They wanted the IMG kids. They wanted the suburban kids, black and white. They didn't see the program back in the day was a program of hope for a lot of inner city kids because Michael Irvin was a product of a family of 17 children. And when he got an opportunity to play at St. Thomas Aquinas, where the Bozes went to school, for the record too, St. Thomas Aquinas doesn't send players to the University of Miami anymore. They send them to Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama. It's because the admissions department at the University of Miami doesn't want inner city kids. They're not what they call economically a good look for the school. You want to know why Miami's down? Right there is a prime example of it. They're not even recruiting a kid because he went to one of the programs like Booker T. Washington and places like Palmetto and Southridge. They don't recruit those high schools anymore. They recruit the Columbus high schools. And by the way, David Dunn's the coach there. He played at my old high school in Connecticut. It's a great program. Not throwing any shade at it. But when you lose players like that because you don't want to have – I don't want to go too racy on you here, but when you don't want to recruit the inner city black schools, I'm talking high schools, and you've got Nick Saban walking into those places and getting those kids or Dabo Swinney, you expect to get killed on a national stage against Alabama or Clemson. And those two schools in the last two games have destroyed the Canes. Because you're not getting those. You're winning all these stupid recruiting wars. But you know what you're not in the end? You're not getting the right kids. The hungry kids. The kids that made the program great. You're not getting the guys who have no back door. Either they're going to win or they're going to go to jail or they're going to be killed. Do you know how many kids I played like that with at Miami? You know how many kids used to come up to me and tell me, people like Brett Perriman or people like, Reggie Sutton or Irvin even. Sills, smiling chance out of here. I got to make the best of it. Okay? Got to make the best of it. I've got to get this done. Benny Blades, too. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I went down to Belglades, Florida. We had a wide receiver on our team by the name of Eddie Brown. And Eddie Brown was a first-round draft choice by the Bengals. This guy had dirt on the floor, grass on the roof, and a potbelly stove in the middle of the kitchen. Jerome and I walked in there, and I'm like, dude, I have never seen poverty like this. You go down to Belglades, you won't find yourself some poverty. And you know what Eddie looked at us and said? Man, I'm going to get a contract to buy my mom a house, and I'm getting her out of this place. Bought her a $600,000 house, moved her out, moved her into Homestead. I got to get my mom out of here, man. My mom don't deserve this. Single parent kids. Miami turns her backs on those guys. Those are the guys you want, man. They got no alternative. You know, when I got thrown out of Maryland, my grandfather goes, you're going to the Army if this don't work. I was like, damn. Went down to Miami, became an All-American because I had nowhere else to go. Nowhere else to go. And so, just saying, you want to get back to winning? That's the kind of crap you got to get away from. There's nothing wrong. And you know, this is kind of like half-hearted and a little bit of kidding here. You don't win national championships with choir boys. You're not going to win them with choir boys. It's going to take a strong personality and a strong-minded coach to keep those guys intact and keep those guys focused like they do at Alabama with Nick Saban. Nobody gets off the rails there. You never see a program where there's a guy who's acting up in that program. You know where else you don't see that? At Kentucky with Calipari. Those two coaches You never see that stuff. Ever see that. I'm just saying, I had to get that off my chest because, again, you go over to my Twitter page, you can see Luther's my guy. I just love the guy. All right, let's get the big Sills picks here. Listening to how Shannon Sharp grew up, he's a perfect example. Yeah, but get this, Kevin. Shannon had to go to a small school. His brother went to South Carolina, Sterling Sharp, and Shannon didn't get an opportunity. I think he played at Savannah State. And Savannah State, no disrespect, I think that's a HBCU school, if I'm not mistaken, which, by the way, you talk about some of the greatest players in the history of the National Football League. Those historically black colleges, I love those guys. There are so many great football players that come out of those schools and have come out of those schools. My friend Doug Williams, who's been on the program, he's like on the board of directors for the HBCU Hall of Fame, Black College Hall of Fame. And we had Greg Coleman on, who's part of the broadcast team for the Vikings. He just got nominated into the Hall of Fame. And, you know, I just love, and we go back and forth, the historically black colleges and the Hall of Fame. You know, the Orange Blossom Classic was played last week too. Get off that. Let's get into Big Sills picks. Now, I got to give you the history of this. I've been doing this now for roughly 15 years. I think I had an underwater year twice. I want to say in 14, and I think maybe 16. The rest of them have been above water and really good. Last year, we were 71%. And we pick them against the spread, over, under, however you look at it. And I kind of throw a number out at you, too, to kind of put it all in perspective. Are you guys ready? We do this every Friday. Hey, and for the record, who threw out the college games? I think Incognito did. We may have to throw 5 or 6 college football games into that next week. So we'll throw that in there. And we'll see how we do and what kind of percentage that we end up winning. And we'll end up adding a little bit more here of the college football games. We'll do that next week. All right, let's start it off with, and we start off the Big Sills picks here with Eagles and Falcons. The Falcons are favored by 3 points, according to Fox Bets. I think the number was 3.5 a couple days ago, and the over-under is 48 points. So we're looking at something in the range here of like 25 to 23, something like that. So not a lot of high points in this football game. I think anytime you get around 49, 51, somewhere in there, that's when you're looking at really some pretty good points being thrown up in this game. I said this before to you. I look at this game and I broke it down during the week. I think the offense on the Atlanta side is pretty good. I'm not really keen about their offensive line, but they've got skilled guys and they got the best quarterback in the game against the Eagles, and that's Matt Ryan. I think the coaches are going to be a push. It's a brand new coaching staff down there as well. I'm not really sold on the Falcons defense. I think if the Eagles can go down there, limit turnovers, make sure you keep Matt Ryan on the sideline, and that defense of the Eagles shows up, creates 2 turnovers, and like I said, if Jalen is around 250 yards passing and maybe 65 yards rushing, I think they can get out of this football game with a 26-20 victory. And I think they take this game in game 1 of the first week of the National Football League's 2021 season. So I'm going to circle the Eagles here. And by the way, we'll go over this on Monday. Obviously, there's a Monday night game too. We'll get into the Monday night game. But I've got with the 3 points, I've got the Eagles actually winning this game. Falcons are favored by 3. I've got Eagles 26-20 in this football game. Let's move on to Pittsburgh and the Bills. This will be a pretty good game, or at least we're going to learn a little bit more about both football teams here. Now, we all know last year the Steelers got out to 11-0 start, right? And everybody kept doing this. I don't know. Because they were struggling in the red zone and they were struggling on third down. It's a brand new offense and kind of a reconstructed offensive line in Pittsburgh. I'm going to be very interested to see, because they lost a lot of players in that offensive line this past offseason. Villanueva is no longer in the starting lineup. Guys have been moved. They have a brand new reconstruction in that entire offensive line. So I say this to you. I don't really know what to expect from Pittsburgh. They end up getting TJ Watt just in time, so he'll be able to go against his Bills team. This Bills team has one of the best rosters that's in the National Football League. And Josh Allen's continuing ascent to being one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL tells me a lot about this team's growth. I don't think they're the same defensive football team on the other side of the ball. I just don't think they're the same. Okay? Now, instead of being a 9, they're probably 7.5. Could that do enough to win? I do think so. And the Bills are favored by 6.5 in this game. Well, I think the Bills end up winning this game by 10 points. So I've got the Bills in this football game, 30-20. I just think, and it's in Buffalo, so I think the Bills get it done against the Steelers in week 1. I wouldn't be shocked if this game is a little bit closer, though, because if Ben has picked up this new offense, this game could be a little bit closer, 3-4 points in this game. But I just don't really know what to think when I look at their offensive line, and I'm talking Pittsburgh's. I think Buffalo is right there with the Bills when it comes to being a football team that has really great personnel on it, especially on the roster. Vikings and Bengals here. And the Vikings are only 3.5-point favorites in this game. It's in Cincinnati at Paul Brown Stadium. And the number's 48. By the way, the Pittsburgh Bills game, it's 48.5 over under. Vikings and Bengals, 3.5. And the Vikings are favored by 3.5 only. I think people are looking at what went on last year with that football team, how they got out of the gate, especially in the COVID year. They did not look good. Nobody really on that offense looked anything decent when it came to, the Vikings. I think they're going to have a bounce back year. I think Mike Zimmer's a heck of a coach. And I do think Joe Burrow's going to struggle a little bit in the first quarter pull of the season, first 4 games of the year. Still trying to get over that knee injury. I got the Vikings winning this game 28-17. I think they're going to run the ball. And, boy, I'll tell you something, man. They got a great offensive line, and I think their defense is going to bounce back this season. And no question about it, I got the Vikings, so I'm going to circle up here on the Vikings here. You know what's funny? This next game here, how about this? Incognito, you like the upset? Bengals staying away? Last year was a wash to almost every team. Yeah, you're right, Kevin. It was. It was a wash. You know, if I'm Jared Goff, this is at Ford Field. 49ers traveled to Detroit. 7.5 points. The 49ers are favored. It's a 45-point number, which means no one's really expecting Jared Goff to put a lot of numbers up here. The 49ers, they named Jimmy Garoppolo the starter. I think the 49ers, they can get help from that position. I think they can make it to the NFC Championship game. The Lions, I would not be shocked if the Lions put up a little bit more points than what I'm thinking they're going to put up. But because Jared Goff has been told the entire offseason how much he sucked and how bad he was and how, Sean McVay is so happy to have Matthew Stafford, all of that. He wasn't that bad a player when he was in Los Angeles, was Goff. He was just doing consistent, and a lot of that had to do with Todd Gurley's demise. Okay? Todd Gurley was not really giving that football team enough when it came to a running game. And I thought that really played a factor in the development of Jared Goff, and he started to regress, and I think that whole entire offense really started to regress. And that's what ended up going down and ended up really hurting his stay in Los Angeles. So I'm going 49ers in this game, and I think it's 30-14. I don't think it's close. I think the 49ers are I think they're too powerful of a roster. So 7.5 points, the number's 45. I got 30-14 49ers in this game. Cardinals and Titans. We just got through talking this game here a little bit with Howard Balzer here. Titans are favored by 3 in this game. 45 is the number. I really like the Titans as a football team, but I also really like the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals have a pretty good roster. I really do. I think they have a very good roster, but I think the Titans are a better football team, especially when you have Derrick Henry running the ball. I think Derrick Henry, I don't think the Titans are as good as they were a couple years ago defensively. Okay, like maybe 2 years ago, but I do think that they have enough in that offensive line, and I think they have enough with Ryan Tannehill making plays on third down and keeping it in third and short. So I got a close one here. Titans are favored by 3. I think they win the game 26-20. And remember something, you're not going to get a boatload of scoring when it comes to Titans football. You're just not, especially when you got a guy on the other side of the ball that's their head coach, and that is Mike Vrabel. You're just not going to get that. I mean, you're just not going to get that. Kevin says this, no, Jared Goff wasn't all that bad. He and Wentz were picked where they were for a reason. Henry is a mini bust. Dude, man, Derrick Henry's the best power running back I've seen since Earl Campbell. He is just how about this? I cannot believe that guy's, do you know Derrick Henry was a second-round pick? I think that's one of the absolute reasons that Najee Harris ended up going in the first round is because nobody was going to make that mistake again. Najee hurdling people at Alabama. I love Najee Harris. I don't think he's a Trent Richardson. I heard somebody say he's either going to be Trent Richardson or he's going to be somewhere near Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry. I think he'll probably be in between Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry. He'll probably be somebody in there. And, man, you're hoping he's close to Derrick Henry because there's very few of them dudes. If I had to pick a player non-quarter, watch this. If you took all the quarterbacks out of the room, who would be your MVP and best player in the game, Derrick Henry or Aaron Donald? Who would you pick, Aaron Donald or Derrick Henry? I know who I'm picking. I'm not picking Donald. Donald has no impact on a football game. Zero. I saw him in a Super Bowl against the Patriots. I didn't even know he was playing. Derrick Henry's in a game. You got to stop that guy. Okay? You got to stop that guy. That guy's a beast. He is, I mean, outside of, quarterbacks, I don't know if you could find me a guy who's not any more important. Would we say this? Derrick Henry is as important to the Titans' success as Patrick Mahomes is to the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you know how many players, like watch this, in the Rams, the success of the Rams is not going to go through 99. The success of the Rams is going to go through Matthew Stafford. It's the way you look at the importance of that player. Seahawks and Colts. Here's your boy. Now, Eagle fans, are you rooting for Carson Wentz to play well? You should. You should want them to play well. Okay? Better he plays, the more that pick ends up becoming an important pick for you because it becomes a first-round pick. Remember, here's the numbers. If he plays in 75% of the games or a percentage of the plays for the 17 games, it's a first-rounder. If he gets to the playoffs, plays in 70% and gets to the playoffs, it's a first-rounder. Seahawks are favored by 3 in this game, 48.5 points. So there's going to be some numbers here, and there's going to be some points. The Vegas people think this game's closer. Okay? I actually think this game's going to be probably like a 7-point ball game here. I got Seahawks in this game, even though it's on the road and it's there in Indianapolis. I'm going to go with Seahawks covering the 3 and winning the game 28-21. I just don't know if you have enough practice time with Wentz. But then again, after what we saw last night with Dak Prescott, I mean, I thought that was right. I mean, I was shocked that he played that well last night. Here's a game that has some significance when it comes to the NFC East. Chargers are 1.5-point favorites over Washington and it's in D.C. 44.5. This game here, watch this. I think the Chargers win this game. 28-27. 1.5 point spread. But I'm taking Washington in the number here. So I'm going to take Washington to cover and to get that number. Chargers are favored by 1.5. I think this is going to be a 1-point football game. I think this is going to, Chargers traveling all the way to the East Coast. Justin Herbert could throw for 5 touchdowns in this game too, but I doubt it because I think the Washington team, I think they have a very good defensive football team. I like Wentz, just the atmosphere got toxic in Philly. Yeah, ownership did that. Kevin, ownership created the toxic environment that got both the coach and the quarterback terminated from their jobs. I mean, think of that for a minute. The poor play of Carson Wentz was blamed on everybody but the front office and the personnel director, a.k.a. the GM. The GM didn't think it was the players that he put in the locker room. He blamed the coach and the quarterback for the team's demise. Dude, when a sinking ship is starting to go down, John Madden used to say this all the time about sinking ships. You ready? When a ship's going down, all the rats come to the top of the boat and they jump off. The guys you have behind are the ones you want to go to war with. And that's kind of what – I'm not sure all the rats have jumped off the boat yet in Philly. Am I right when I say that? I'm just not so sure that all the rats are off the boat yet. Jags and Texans. This is going to be an interesting ball game because Urban Meyer's era begins along with Trevor Lawrence. Jags are favored by 3 in this game. And I'm not going to go too much into this because this is like the worst game of the weekend. 45 points. I got the Jags winning this game. Believe it or not, Urban Meyer gets out to a 1-0 start in his career. And they win this game 26-21. So I got Jags. How about this Browns and Chiefs game? Is this going to tell us a little bit about the AFC? By the way, it's at Arrowhead. 6 points, and I played at Arrowhead. One of the absolutely loudest places I have ever been involved in when it comes to a football game. Arrowhead is like a college atmosphere. It is utterly amazing. Amazing. And they've retooled their offensive line too. Okay, the same way Pittsburgh has. So it's going to be interesting to see how Orlando Brown fits in. They gave up a lot of assets, restructured the contract of Mahomes too, so that they could fit him in. I think with Hill, Travis, with all those guys that they have, Kelsey, I mean, their defense with Chris Jones, plus Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid's got a pretty good football team. And I told you this yesterday. I still think it's Buccaneers and Chiefs. You got to convince me otherwise. And maybe this game will tell us a little more about Cleveland. The number's 53, so they're expecting some numbers to be thrown up. I've got the Chiefs winning this game at Arrowhead, 36-28. I think Baker's going to make a mistake in this game. I think he makes the mistake. Dolphins and Patriots. I think this is going to be – how about this game? This is like the Alabama Bowl for my boy Krause. You know, both these quarterbacks were in the same quarterback room with Nick Saban. Patriots are favored by 3 at home at Gillette. 43.5. Not really a lot of points that they're expecting in this game. I still think the Patriots are going to run the football and do exactly what they did a year ago. They're not going to put Mac Jones in a position to have to throw the ball like we saw last night with Dak Prescott. He's probably going to throw the ball on Sunday around 25 times. My opinion, I think they win the game 29-17. Patriots are favored by 3. I think that Tua, who I'm not sold on yet, I just don't think that he's going to be able to make plays late in that game. He may shock me. But I've got Patriots in this ball game 29-17. 4 more games here. Packers and Saints. This is a pretty damn good game 3 years ago, not now. Packers, though, only favored by 4.5. Shows you how everyone thinks in Vegas. Number's 50. Not a bad number. They're expecting some offense from Jameis Winston, who's now the new quarterback in New Orleans. I don't think it's this close. I think the Packers have a lot to prove this year. I think they win this game 31-20. Broncos and Giants. How about the Broncos are favored in this game against the Giants? You know, we get Howard Eskin on. This is a testament to Daniel Jones. So the Giants are hosting the Broncos in the Meadowlands, and you're not favored with a Bronco team with Teddy Bridgewater on it? Look, I love Teddy Bridgewater. But really? Teddy Bridgewater? So the Broncos are favored over the Giants. There's no question. One of the reasons that I've pushed up the Eagles in the NFC East is because people have convinced me. I'm not really sure what we're looking at with the Giants yet. Dave Gettleman, their general manager, he blows. Why is he in the room? I got Broncos winning this game, 21-17. I mean, if you really think that much of Teddy Bridgewater, I'm going to think they're going to win this game handily here. Bears and Rams. Bears get the worst offensive line. Joey B picks. I just don't get Daniel Jones, man. What are you seeing in him? He's Dave Brown incarnated. You know what I mean? New York Giants going 4-13. Incognito, you may be right. Rams favored by 7 over the Bears. Bears got the worst offensive line in the NFL. Andy Dalton versus Matthew Stafford. I'll tell you what, if Matthew Stafford doesn't show up and win this game, the Rams are going to have problems all year long. 44 points is the number. I got the Rams. They better win this game, 30-17. Then the Monday night game. It's Ravens and Raiders. How about the injuries in the running game for the Ravens? That's got to kill. That's got to kill the Ravens' attack. That means you're leaning so much more on Lamar Jackson to be able to carry the ball. They're still favored by 5, 50.5 points. I just don't believe in the Raiders. I just don't. 28-20, they go on the road. They go to Vegas and they win this game. They get out of there. They need some people in that running attack to be able to step up and give Jackson some help. Okay, I do. So, yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening. I like doing that. We do that every Friday. We kind of get a good sense of like a little bit of where everybody's going with, you know, not so much the picks, but it's becoming part of the sports world now when we're talking gaming and stuff. And before I used to just do straight up picks. So we added the number about 14 years ago. Ravens are in a spot there. I agree, Kevin. I think they really are. You know, just to get back a little bit, though, to, you know, what we were talking about with the Eagles and talking about their front office. Dog, you go into this game against Atlanta and you lay a turd in this game and say Jalen sucks in this game. You think when that team gets back to Philadelphia, people are going to be kind, even on Jalen, and go, hey, man, let's give it another 5 games. Nobody's going to do that. You get a brand new head football coach. You've made complete – by the way, it's rebuilding. It's not retooling. There's no retooling in Philly. Don't let anybody in the media tell you that. Well, our roster's it. Dog, you were 4-11-1 last year. You were 4-11. By the way, real quick, you know what really helps the Buccaneers out too this year? What do you think really helps the defending champions out? Do you know what's crazy about their chances of repeating? The Buccaneers didn't win the division last year, which meant they were a wild card, which meant they get a weaker schedule because they were a wild card than a division champ. What an advantage not winning the division, because you get a weaker – all division champs have tougher schedules, even Washington. So they don't have to play a really overpowering schedule. I mean, the Buccaneers, by the way, if you look at their schedule, they're going to be favored in every game they're in, as long as Brady's standing up. So, yeah. Kevin says, no, they will be calling for Minshew. How quick before they start calling Gardner Minshew? You know, we had a fun topic a couple days ago when we were talking about how many games are you giving them. Ken says Minshew by 6 to 8 weeks, exposing Howie's mystique. Howie's got mystique? Really? I don't know. I think there's a lot on the line here. There's a lot on the line here. No mistake about that, man. A ton of expectations. By the way, too, I want to see Fletcher Cox start to rebound a bit. I want to see that front seven that was second or third in pass rushing get after Matthew Ryan. I think he meant mistakes. There you go. Okay, that's me. Then again, Big Sills, when it comes to reading, I like picture books. You know what I'm saying? I'm more of a crayon kind of guy. I'm more of a crayon guy, you know? Did you guys see the story on Cam Newton today? So I guess Cam did an interview with his dad. I'll hit on that. A little bit more on the Falcons and the Eagles. What would a loss mean to Eagle fans if they do go in there and drop that game in that opener to the Falcons? We'll hit on all that next. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
Hey, Eagles fans, if you're a subscriber to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, you are already registered to win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming season. That's right, you could win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming 2021 season just for being a subscriber. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber, do it now. Subscribe to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel right now. What do you need to do? Subscribe right now.
As a hard-working American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm. Find out why they say, "We got this."
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at IBEW98.org.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome back, National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo. How you doing? That was great last night, man. 15 share. All the people in the stadium at Raymond James. I love Football Fridays and Football Mondays. I do. I'm going to get to all your thoughts here in a minute. By the way, anything you want to post over there, we will immediately get to what your guys want to throw out there, especially with Falcons and Eagles. Anything from what we said with Big Sills picks, with the number. You guys want to throw it out there? I will hit on it. You know, I just saw something come across the wire that how about this, man? So, like, did I see that the Big 12 is adding, like, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF? Sounds like Conference USA to me. You lose Texas and Oklahoma, and you think you're replacing them? Is that helping the Big 12 or hurting them? What if those teams suck and go into the conference and don't do anything for them? Big 12, I mean, you're expanding to make yourself look like Conference USA or the Sun Belt Conference. I don't know how that helps you. I mean, watch this. Wow, you added Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF? Oh, my God, I can't believe it. BYU. Oh, I'm like, I don't really care. You lost Texas and Oklahoma. I don't know what you're thinking. You would have to add the Eagles to the Big 12 for it to look decent. All right. Hey, by the way, okay, if I missed anything here, please repost it and we'll hit on it again. Okay, I appreciate it. Let's see here. Sportsman 22 Philly. I love you coming aboard, man. I so wanted the Eagles to draft Quentin Nelson. Imagine him alongside of Brandon Brooks. It's like having Reggie White and Troy Vincent on your unstoppable super team. It's great. Hey, you think the Dolphins wouldn't rather have right now, get this, wouldn't rather have Justin Herbert instead of Tagovailoa? Right? I mean, if you're a Dolphin fan, you know, you were tanking for Tua. Remember that whole thing? And all of a sudden you watch Justin Herbert get that start against the Chiefs and you went, huh? I didn't see that at Oregon. You know, I didn't see that at Oregon. Muhammad says, Dan, I'm looking forward to seeing Kelsey, Brooks, Lane back together and the monster LT on the other side, Jordan Mailata, and see what that line can do healthy this year and see if that can end up helping. And I'm paraphrasing here, Muhammad, the development of Jalen. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to have to happen. If that O-line, you know what, too, I would say this because there's a lot of experience in that offensive line, especially with Kelsey there and with Lane Johnson. If those guys come together like we saw the Cowboy O-line last night, let's just say this, the Cowboy O-line last night played a lot better without Zach Martin than I thought they were. I mean, without Zach Martin, they did a hell of a job, okay? And I know he took a sack. By the way, Brady didn't take a sack. You know why? Hey, real quick, I want to show you the difference between a great quarterback and a sorry-ass quarterback. Did you see Brady throw those 3 passes away? And he didn't care about stats. Did you see the very end of the game? Once they got in position for a field goal, Brady threw 3 passes away. Probably hurt his quarterback rating, but he didn't care. And everybody's kind of holding that against him a little bit because he didn't have the same quarterback rating or completion percentage that, say, Dak did in the game. But Brady was all about winning the ball game. He wasn't about winning the stat sheet. And I think so many people fall in love with quarterback rating because of the PFF guys and all those other idiots that have clickbait sites. And I think one of the great things that they do is they understand, these great quarterbacks understand what it takes to win. And Kevin said he watched it. He just threw it away. If the thing wasn't wide open, Brady just threw the ball away. The value of an incomplete pass versus a sack. This last year, Muhammad, every Eagle fan, this is what plagued Carson Wentz. I would much rather see a Ben Roethlisberger line. How many times did we always see during Ben's prime? How many times did we see this during Ben's prime? 18 of 31 for 450 yards. But Ben threw the ball away. Ben threw the ball away. He knew the importance of a punt and an incomplete pass. These quarterbacks today are so stat-driven because a lot of their incentives that are put in their contract are stat incentive. And what it does is it blinds them from the game. Brady wasn't worried about stats last night. He was worried about having his team in a good field goal position. You know, I kept saying this. I would have maybe just knelt, took a knee. What if he fumbled the ball? But I trust the ball in the hands of the greatest quarterback of all time, that he knows what he's doing. I don't know if I'm doing that with pretty much any. I may have kicked it on first down. Okay? Kevin says Jalen did a good job of throwing away. There were a couple games last year where that wasn't always evident, but he's a smart player. That is clearly one of the great assets that he has, is that he's smart. By the way, for the record, Tua, also smart. But I think you've got to be smart if you're going to play in that Alabama offense. Do you think there's any coincidence that 3 starting quarterbacks from that quarterback room in Alabama are now starting quarterbacks on week 1 of the NFL season? Is that kid A.J. McCarron still in the league too? I think he's somewhere, right? Is McCarron in the league as a backup somewhere? I think he is. So you got 4 quarterbacks from the Bama era with Nick Saban in the NFL. It's pretty impressive. Okay? It's pretty impressive. So here, let me throw this at you here. Eagles go into this game and they lay a turd against Atlanta. And you know what? I'll throw it on the other side too, just so we're being fair and somebody's not accusing me of hating on anybody here. How are people going to perceive Jalen after 0-1 start? By the way, Vegas is not expecting you to win. The only people that are expecting the Eagles to win are Eagle fans. Nobody in the country thinks you're going to go down. Well, some people probably, but the prognosticators and all the people in Vegas don't think you're going to win. And those are the people that kind of matter because, once again, they're the people that put the money on the table, and those are the people that set the spreads. You know, there's some places that got it 3.5 points in Atlanta's column. So the perception is Jalen's got to change the perception of the organization. Would we not agree? Would we not agree that the perception of the Eagles is not at an all-time high right now? And I'm talking by analysts. I'm talking with people like me. I'll tell you, being around you guys and talking to guys like Brian Baldinger and other people that have come on the program like Mike Golick this week, you know, Mike is also in that category where he's like this. Hey, Dan, I think the team is pretty decent. I just don't know what Jalen Hurts is going to do. I don't think anybody really knows what he's going to do. But I would say this to you. If they lose 0-1, I wouldn't panic. Just like the same way that I'm telling Buccaneer fans. Kevin says that everybody thinks we are a crap team. I don't think you're a crap team. I think it's inexperienced at some positions now, especially the most important. You know where? Head coach and quarterback. Smile says, Hurts gets a pass with fans. It goes to Howie if they lose. Interesting. I actually love that topic. Who are you going to aim your criticism at come Monday if the Eagles lose this game? Howie, the coach, or Jalen? Incognito says 6-7 wins. I got talked into 9. Tone says, how are we going to get headshots? How we should feel the heat here. In my opinion, you guys are right. I think that general manager, and by the way, I never call for people's jobs. Okay? I lay it out there for you to call them. If that team goes down to Atlanta and Howie starts talking, you know what, come Monday, and he starts deflecting and it starts coming down on the coach and the quarterback, I pray to God that the fans are not going to tolerate that, because that front office has ripped that team apart, the soul of the team apart for the last 3 years. You can't keep running and hiding under your desk. And you can't keep putting your personnel people underneath their desk and not take accountability if that team gets their ass kicked. You cannot do that. I would think in a city like that, you have been tired of that. Personally, I would never have gotten rid of Doug Peterson. I'd have fired the GM. But the owner picked the GM over the coach who got it done. The owner you can't fire. Okay? Okay? I mean, no, Muhammad, I think you helped a little bit me getting talked into 9. But I don't know how that guy escaped the wrath of people in Philly. I don't know how the Inquirer, I don't know how anybody else, the 2 radio stations that are in that town, by the way, they're now becoming even more obnoxious to listen to because they're just waving banners because they want to get the players on their shows. That's what sports radio's turned into now. You know, sports radio is now like, you know, cheerleader radio, where like if you're going too hard on a team, or how about this, if you're speaking the truth on a team, the team's not going to put players on, and they know that. And that's why WIP doesn't kill the team or go after the general manager, because at the end of the day, they want accessibility. It's more important for them to get accessibility with the coach and the players on than it is to tell the truth. That's a fact. I mean, one of the reasons, hey, get this. You want to hear this? I mean, one of the reasons that I'm not doing radio in Miami on the flagship station of the Hurricanes, I used to come on the radio and say it all the time, this football team. I posted a rant. It's like 10 years old. And you know what? That rant, it's got 200,000 views on it. And it still holds true to today. It still holds true to today. Nothing's changed. Just the names that are wearing the headsets. It's the same crap. Getting run over, not making plays, and getting killed by great teams. What's changed? Absolutely nothing. Nobody wants to hear that, though. You know, I just got through talking to you about a kid going to Clemson. A kid at Edison High going to Clemson. How's that possible? Well, because it's the type of recruiting you're doing. And so that's what I'm talking about, telling the truth. That's what we do here. And I can't wait for Sunday because we're going to get a lot of things that are going to be able to come to a head. Now, I was getting into telling you this. How much did you learn about the Cowboys last night? All we got is this. Cowboy cheerleaders all day long today. I'm watching Skip Bayless go, oh, my God, my Cowboy. I'm like, dude, really? 4 quarters, 60 minutes of football? You're making an assessment on an entire 17-game schedule season for the Cowboys. You think that football team, he thinks they're a 12, 13-win team. I'm like, I would pump the brakes on that. You played as good as you possibly could, and get this, you still got beat. You put up over 450 yards, and the Buccaneers had 4 turnovers in the game, and you still lost. Okay? You still lost. And nobody wants, if you're a Cowboy fan, you don't want to hear that. Dude, you still got beat. Nobody gets commemorative coins or T-shirts. Well, we almost beat the champs. Michael said it perfect. It's the production of the participation award era. Gives a crap that they played great. Did you win or did you lose? Well, Dak played great. Dak took a sack and threw a pick. That mattered. And CeeDee Lamb dropped 4 passes. I kept, and I kept here going, CeeDee Lamb, was this a breakout game for him? He had 4 drops. And one of those drops turned into an INT. Not giving that guy kudos for being what maybe he could be. I can't wait to see Devontae Smith. How do you think the Eagles will use Devontae Smith? You think he's going to be their number 1 target? That's going to be interesting. What happens when you become the number 1 target on a team? You get the best corner. Hey, you're lucky you're playing Atlanta because I don't really think they have very many good defensive football teams or players on that Falcons team. Mohammed says, Devontae not dropping the ball on Sunday. He's such a hardworking kid. You know, all the things that people tell me about him at Alabama, you know, one of the things that they really loved, everyone knows this. Okay? Jalen Waddle was the more talented kid. Jalen Waddle is the more talented kid. Now, you're probably going to go like this. No way, Sills. Wait a minute. You think Jerry Rice was more gifted than Randy Moss? Calvin Johnson? I don't. Rice was just a better receiver. Ran better routes. Had a work ethic that was second to none. He was a better receiver. Wasn't the best athlete. Compared to Moss and to Calvin Johnson. He wasn't in those guys' leagues. He didn't run 4.2 40s. You know the big story on Rice was when Bill Walsh went down and recruited him at an all-star game, they were looking at another wide receiver by the name of Rooster Jones out of Pittsburgh. And Bill Walsh was watching this guy from Mississippi Valley State, and he's like, holy cow. Do you know what Jerry Rice ran a 40-yard dash at the combines? 4.7. You're like, 4.7? I ran a 4.8 at 288. 4.7. Rice goes on to become the greatest wide receiver, and in my opinion, the greatest offensive weapon in NFL history. Okay? So Devontae, though, what separates him from Jalen? Work ethic, great teammate, runs precise routes. Those are got to be the things that define him. You see what's happened with that kid Chase in Cincinnati? He's dropping everything on the planet. You know why? He's not in a comfort zone right now. He's not in the same environment he was when he was in Baton Rouge. And sometimes when that environment gets changed and you get lesser coaching, hey, follow me here when I say this to you, is you think Devontae's going to get – this is going to tell you guys all you need to know. Eagle fans, do you truly believe that Devontae Smith is going to get better coaching in Philadelphia than he did at Alabama? I'll wait. Ask again, in case you missed it. Do you really believe the Eagles are going to be a better coaching staff for Devontae Smith than what he had at Alabama? In Philly, you're hoping. In Alabama, I know. He's not going to get better coaching in Philly. GW, no. So what does that mean for the player? The player's got to rise above. Trust me when I tell you, guys, please listen to me on this. Hey, and by the way, this is a failure on my end, not anybody else. So my coaches were Jimmy Johnson, Dave Wannstedt, Butch Davis, some of the greatest defensive coaches, Dave Campo, all these guys. I know some of those guys didn't go on to be head coaches that were great, but they were spectacular position coaches. Dave's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Butch has got 2 Super Bowl rings. Dave's got 3. These guys are really good coaches. When I was in the University of Miami, I got the best coaching of all time. I got to the Buccaneers. It was so poor. I couldn't believe how bad the coaching was. They never really coached. They didn't talk about the little things. We didn't even practice the little things. And I was shocked at the environment. Shocked. And I just could not believe that the coaching wasn't at the same level as the place I was at. I thought it'd be just as comparable. It wasn't. You know, I make that comment to you, you know, when we were talking about Josh Allen. GW, it's here. Let me throw this at you here. This is one of the things I think is going to throw Urban Meyer around a little bit here. You know, does Urban Meyer really have a good enough? You think, how about this? You think Trevor Lawrence is going to get the same coaching that he had with all those great coaches that are at Clemson that are making $3 million a year? You think those coordinators right now in Jacksonville are making $3 million a year? Absolutely not. Lawrence is not getting the same type of coaching that he had when he was at Clemson, and he doesn't have the same ability around him. Good players get ruined. Absolutely, Kevin. It's where you land. How about this? Watch this. If Devontae Smith goes to New Orleans and he's in a Sean Payton offense, what do you think the chances of him getting great coaching are? Or say even the young Matt LaFleur, or even say Sean McVay with the Rams, or even Kyle Shanahan. Those guys know how to utilize these new young wave kids. I'm not saying Sirianni doesn't. I'm not saying that at all. As a matter of fact, I can't wait to see him coach his first NFL football game on Sunday. But that's an outlier when it comes to coaching on Devontae. So Devontae Smith this weekend, it's going to be interesting to see. This is where I'm going, and maybe I'm going in a big circle here. But what I'm saying is that it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles implement him in the offense. Are they going to put him in the strong side of the field, the weak side of the field? Are they going to put him in space? Are they going to put him in a 2 slot, YZ? See, like I said to you guys, last night watching Brady, as you know, Brady was last night like, the conductor that leads the symphony. And, he's the guy that just keeps the rhythm. See, a composer or a guy that's in front of a symphony, to me, he keeps the rhythm going. Everybody knows their cue, but not actually when to bring in the cue. There's a feel to it. It's like coordinating games, defensively and offensively. There's got to be a feel to it. Got to have a good pulse on it. That's why I say Frank Reich was a better offensive coordinator than what Doug Peterson was. Because I always thought Frank had more of a feel for it. You can always tell when you're getting a change in coordinator, can't you? You can have the same plays written up, but there's just a difference in the nuances of how they get into their formations. Incognito says, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. It says Sean McVay drove by. Does that make me qualified to be an NFL head coach? I don't. Right? Hey, Sean, I was a ball boy for the Buccaneers. Does that make me qualified to be a head coach too? Funny. So getting him in and see this draft. This is where this draft is really going to tell me a lot about how future drafts are going to go. This was a familiarity draft, and I'm gonna point something out, and I think this goes into what we're kind of hitting on here a little bit with the Eagles too. But look what they did in Miami. Okay, Tagovailoa knew Jalen Waddle, so they drafted him. Okay, they knew him. Jalen Hurts knew Devontae Smith. So they drafted him. That kid Chase, Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, played at LSU. Joe Burrow did too. They knew one another. There was a comfort zone with these big top-end picks, is what I'm saying. And I think you're going to start to see a little bit more of that in future drafts. Like if I draft a quarterback, okay, I'm not suggesting to you that Trey Lance has got wide receivers up in North Dakota State. I'm not going to go there and say that. But I'll tell you what, if I'm the Bears and Matt Nagy, if he does survive, I may be going back to Ohio State to see if there's players on that team, either in the O-line running game or in the wide receiving core, that could help Justin Fields. Because I think if you start to see something like that, I think that's going to give you less of an opportunity, okay, on failure with your draft choices. I think you get less failure that way when it comes to draft choices. So I can't wait. By the way, I want to make sure that we got that number down here. Let me see, double check. 26-20. I stuck with it. Falcons favored by 3 according to Fox Bets. So 48 points is the number. I got the Eagles straight up winning this game, 26-20. It's a great way to kick it off last night, huh? Hey, by the way, just want to say this to everybody. Tomorrow, September 11th, make sure we all stand up and thank our first responders, because even through this pandemic and, it's been 20 years since that tragic day, make it a day that all Americans can be proud, because our response and our reaction after September 11th was the same response we had after December 7th, 1941. So you see a military person, salute them. That's all I say to you. I just so absolutely love our military. And God bless America, man. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great football weekend. Have a great football Friday. Don't forget Monday 4 to 6. We'll have a lot to hit on from this past weekend. If you missed any of the show, go over to the JAKIB Media channel. You can like us, watch us a little bit later on in case you missed anything. We will catch you on Monday, and we'll catch you on the flip side.